The ancient city of Baalbek, Lebanon, known for its towering Roman ruins and rich history, became the target of Israeli airstrikes, marking a significant escalation in the ongoing conflict between Israel and Hezbollah. This unprecedented attack on a UNESCO World Heritage Site has sent shockwaves through the international community, raising fears of a wider conflict in the volatile Middle East. The strikes, the first on Baalbek in over 2 decades, came as a swift and decisive response to Hezbollah's rocket attacks on Israeli territory. The world watched with bated breath as the events unfolded, the echoes of explosions reverberating through the ancient stones of Baalbek. The strikes marked a dangerous turning point in the conflict, pushing the region closer to the brink of war. With tensions already running high, the international community scrambled to contain the situation, urging both sides to show restraint and seek a peaceful resolution. The specter of a wider conflict loomed large, threatening to engulf the region in a cycle of violence and destruction. Hezbollah, the Iran-backed Shiite militant group and a powerful force in Lebanese politics, claimed responsibility for firing a barrage of rockets into northern Israel. The rockets, targeting open areas near the Shebar farms, a disputed territory along the Lebanese-Israeli border, were seen as a direct challenge to Israeli sovereignty. Hezbollah's leader, Hassan Nasrallah, defended the attack, framing it as a measured response to previous Israeli airstrikes on southern Lebanon. The rocket fire, while causing no casualties, shattered the uneasy calm that had settled over the region, setting off a chain of events with potentially catastrophic consequences. Hezbollah's actions were widely condemned as a dangerous provocation, escalating tensions and pushing the region closer to the brink of war. The international community, already grappling with multiple crises in the Middle East, expressed deep concern, urging both sides to exercise restraint and prevent the situation from spiraling out of control. Israel, vowing a firm response to Hezbollah's aggression, wasted no time in retaliating with targeted airstrikes on suspected Hezbollah positions in southern Lebanon. The Israeli Defense Forces, IDF, confirmed the strikes, stating that they were aimed at neutralizing Hezbollah's military capabilities and deterring further attacks on Israeli soil. The strikes, carried out with precision, were intended to minimize civilian casualties, focusing on military infrastructure and weapons depots. The roar of fighter jets filled the night sky as Israel unleashed its military might, sending a clear message that it would not tolerate any infringement on its security. The strikes were met with defiance from Hezbollah, which vowed to continue its resistance against Israeli aggression. The exchange of fire, while seemingly contained, served as a stark reminder of the volatile nature of the conflict and the ever-present threat of a wider escalation. In an unprecedented move, Israeli warplanes targeted the ancient city of Baalbek, a UNESCO World Heritage Site renowned for its remarkably preserved Roman temples. The strikes, which targeted areas near the iconic ruins, sent shockwaves through the international community, raising concerns about potential damage to the irreplaceable cultural treasures. Israel defended the strikes, claiming that they targeted Hezbollah facilities used for weapons production and storage, emphasizing that the ancient ruins were not targeted. The targeting of Baalbek, a city not traditionally associated with Hezbollah activity, sparked debate about a potential shift in Israeli strategy, suggesting a willingness to expand the scope of its operations beyond traditional targets. The strikes on this cultural gem, regardless of the intended target, raised alarm bells about the potential for collateral damage and the preservation of cultural heritage in times of conflict. Section 5. The significance of Baalbek, a cultural crossroads. Baalbek, nestled in the Bekaa Valley of Lebanon, stands as a testament to a rich and layered history, its magnificent Roman ruins whispering tales of empires past. The city, once a thriving center of Roman religious life, boasts some of the largest and best preserved Roman temples in the world, a testament to the architectural prowess of a bygone era. The Temple of Bacchus, with its towering columns and intricate carvings, stands as a beacon of ancient artistry, drawing visitors from around the globe. The city's historical significance extends beyond the Roman era, encompassing Phoenician, Greek, and Ottoman influences, a melting pot of cultures that have left their mark on its architecture, cuisine, and traditions. Baalbek's designation as a UNESCO World Heritage Site underscores its universal value, a treasure trove of history and culture deserving of protection and preservation for generations to come. Section 6. International condemnation and calls for restraint. The international community, aghast at the escalation of violence and the targeting of Baalbek, swiftly condemned the attacks, urging both Israel and Hezbollah to exercise restraint and seek a peaceful resolution to the conflict. The United Nations Security Council convened an emergency meeting calling for an immediate ceasefire and a return to dialogue. The United States, a staunch ally of Israel, expressed concern over the escalation of violence, while acknowledging Israel's right to defend itself. European leaders echoed these sentiments, emphasizing the need for de-escalation and a diplomatic solution. The international community, recognizing the potential for the conflict to spiral out of control, urged both sides to prioritize the safety and well-being of civilians caught in the crossfire. Section 7. The human cost civilians caught in the crossfire. As tensions soared and the exchange of fire intensified, the human cost of the conflict became increasingly apparent, with civilians on both sides of the border bearing the brunt of the violence. In Israel, families living near the border were forced to seek refuge in bomb shelters, their lives disrupted by the constant fear of rocket attacks. The psychological toll on communities living under the threat of violence was immeasurable. In Lebanon, the situation was equally dire, with fears of civilian casualties mounting as Israeli airstrikes targeted Hezbollah positions. The strikes on Baalbek, a city not typically associated with Hezbollah activity, heightened these concerns, raising fears of collateral damage and civilian casualties. Hospitals overflowed with the injured, their resources stretched thin as they struggled to cope with the influx of casualties. To Section 8, a region on edge, geopolitical implications. The latest flare-up between Israel and Hezbollah has sent shockwaves through the already volatile Middle East, highlighting the precarious balance of power in the region and the ever-present threat of a wider conflict. The conflict, with its complex web of alliances and rivalries, has the potential to draw in regional and global powers, further destabilizing the region. Iran, a key backer of Hezbollah, condemned the Israeli strikes, vowing to stand by its allies in Lebanon. The involvement of Iran, a regional powerhouse with its own ambitions in the region, added another layer of complexity to the conflict, raising concerns about a proxy war between Israel and Iran being waged on Lebanese soil. Section 9. The spectre of escalation, a wider conflict looms. As tensions reached a fever pitch, the spectre of a wider conflict loomed large, threatening to engulf the region in a cycle of violence and destruction. The potential for miscalculation or unintended consequences was high, with the risk of the conflict spiraling out of control ever present. The international community, acutely aware of the stakes, stepped up diplomatic efforts, urging both sides to show restraint and seek a peaceful resolution. The situation remained fluid, with each passing day bringing the possibility of further escalation. The international community held its breath, hoping that cooler heads would prevail and that diplomacy, not warfare, would ultimately chart the course for the region's future. Section 10. The need for diplomacy finding a path to peace. Amidst the escalating violence and the threat of a wider conflict, the need for diplomacy and dialogue has never been greater. The international community, recognizing the urgency of the situation, has stepped up efforts to mediate between the warring parties, seeking a peaceful resolution to the conflict. The United Nations, with its mandate to maintain international peace and security, has taken a leading role in these efforts. The path to peace, however, is fraught with challenges. Deep-seated mistrust, competing interests, and the ever-present threat of violence make finding common ground a daunting task. Yet the alternative, a wider conflict with potentially catastrophic consequences, is unthinkable. Section 11. Conclusion. A fragile peace hangs in the balance. As the dust settles on the latest round of violence, a fragile peace hangs in the balance, its fate uncertain. The international community, while relieved that a full-scale war has been averted, remains cautiously optimistic, recognizing that the underlying tensions that sparked the conflict remain unresolved. The road ahead is fraught with challenges, but the pursuit of peace must remain the ultimate goal. The international community must remain actively engaged, working tirelessly to foster dialogue, build trust, and address the root causes of the conflict. Only through sustained diplomatic efforts and a commitment to peaceful coexistence can a lasting peace be achieved. The fate of the region, and indeed the world, hangs in the balance.